Today's sales strategy. If we sell our business, can we afford to retire? Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, host of the daily talk show, Let's Get Down to Business.
And I'm Don Prehn, Senior Advisor to InsMark.
Don, we're talking about a sales idea today predicated on the valuation of a business. So most business people, if their business is the majority size of their asset for their entire net worth, they always want to know, hey, can I retire if I sell my business? Will I have enough income? And I want you to walk us through this because in this case, this couple asked for $440,000 a year, and you have several iterations using InsMark to show us how and why this works. Walk us through it.
Sure. We used InsMark's Wealthy and Wise software, which is comprehensive wealth planning software. And the basic idea is you get all of the client's assets and you plug those in, plug in growth assumptions, some are liquid, some are illiquid, and then you project out in the future and you can ask the program, hey, we want this much retirement income. Are we going to run out of money? How much will our net worth be over time if we use cash value life insurance or to replace some of the investments that they currently have? In this particular case, we had a client who owned a business. And sort of the first thing that we had to do was we have a different product called the InsMark Business Valuator, which is a very sophisticated platform that allows you to look at the client's business. And then it compares, it's powered by a company called BizEquity that compares to millions of other small businesses and comps and gives you a very accurate valuation of the client's business. And that becomes another asset that you plug into the overall Wealthy and Wise analysis. In this particular case, we had George and Marie Grove, that's the client, and they wanted to know if we sold the business now, how much do you think it would be worth? And if we took that sales price, could we retire now with the amount of money that we want and not run out of money? And what would our net worth do over time? And so that's the premise of this particular case.
Well, when you think about it, that's really common among normal, everyday small business owners. And when I'm looking at this, we're looking at the basic strategy one, which is really pretty much laying out what they have today. So we kind of got to know what's going on. Walk me through this graph. This is the present day, the present value of their business.
Sure. We plugged everything in Wealthy and Wise. The first thing we did was we used the InsMark Business Valuator. We valued their business at about $5 million. We plugged that in along with their other assets, and this couple is doing very well. They're 65 and 60. They got a $5 million business. They've got some other assets. You can see that their net worth starts at about $9 million, and over the next 30, 40, 45 years, their net worth stays pretty level. And in addition to that, this particular plan was able to pay them out their retirement income that they wanted. And they told us they wanted about $440,000 a year of retirement income. And if we keep that retirement income level every year, their assets can fund that and still stay at about $9 million. So that's sort of the first case, strategy one.
However, when I read this case for the first time, I said, yes, their net worth stays the same as you just said.
Yep.
And they do receive their $440,000 a year as we predicted. But the problem is I'm looking at inflation cutting into that $440,000 buying power. And I think this graph really illuminates to so many people because we're looking at this level number. I'm getting my $440,000 in, but the purchasing power has been diminished. Talk about this graph to really give us an idea of what's going on.
Sure. Again, we showed the $440,000 level, but with inflation out at the end, 30, 40 years from now, it dropped from $440,000. The actual purchasing power dropped to $186,000, and that's assuming a 3% inflation rate. So while we were able to fund their $440,000 a year level, and their net worth funded that and also stayed at that $9 million level, their purchasing power is declining every year and pretty significantly out at age 95.
Well, I think it's really important for all of our advisors who look at this. I love showing this graph. It really, to me, shows the importance of COLA.
Yeah.
I mean, this to me is a real dramatic idea. Now, when we're looking at this, let's talk about COLA. Let's insert that into the equation. Now, at first, this doesn't look good because he's not at 440. Talk about that.
Well, we wanted to ask the Wealthy and Wise software, okay, if we still want to keep the net worth from declining significantly, where do we need to start so that we can add a 3% cost of living adjustment? And we can't start at $440,000 because it'll crash their net worth.
Sure.
So the answer was we could structure about $300,000 a year with a 3% cost of living and still have the net worth stay pretty level. And in that case, you can see that by age 95, we went from $300,000, and then with cost of living, we end up at $700,000 because it's growing each time.
Well, now that's interesting because really, I think if I heard you right, the reference point for the calculation was based on maintaining at least the same net worth that they were looking at.
Yeah, keeping it pretty stable.
Okay. Now, what happened here? We're talking about now a whole new strategy. What in this graph? What are we looking at? We're looking at the same thing, only in more of a pictorial 3D dimension. What are we looking at?
All this is showing is if we start with the lower income, instead of $440,000, we start with a $300,000 index for inflation. This shows the net worth starts at $9 million and ends up at about $10 million. So this graph is showing you that based on that income coming out over the next 40, 45 years, what happens to their net worth? And this just proves that at $300,000 a year index for inflation, their net worth doesn't crater.
I like that. And I think when I'm looking at these graphs, I like the comparison of taking strategy 1 and strategy 2.
Yeah, again, this is showing net worth of both. One of the great things about Wealthy and Wise, the software, is you can run a number of different scenarios and then you can compare them all in one graphic. And here you can see, here's the net worth changes, which stays very level, assuming $440,000 a year level. Here's the net worth, assuming $300,000, but with the cost of living adjustment. You can see strategy 1 versus strategy 2.
I like that, and that again shows the basics. Just to walk me through this though, I love the accumulated spending cash flow box.
Yeah, what this shows is with strategy 1, you're getting $440,000 a year level, which is $13 million over time. And with strategy 2, because you started lower, but you have the indexing, you actually get $14 million, about $1 million more in total payments during retirement.
Now, of course, this is all predicated that the client's going to be okay with taking less money, even with the COLA, though.
Yeah, you've gone. One of the negatives, if you've gone from $440,000 level down to $300,000, that's going to be indexed, and that's kind of that's a big decrease.
George asked this question. He wants to look at over the next 5 years. He expects his business to grow about 10% a year. So Marie asks, can they support the original $440 spendable cash flow plus 3% COLA?
Yeah, one of the questions that came up is that George said, hey, I might sell my business now, but I'm kind of having fun in my business. We're doing really well. What if we wait 5 years, assume the business grows at that 5% a year. If we wait 5 years and sell the business then, what will the business be worth? And could we get $440,000, the number we really want, and have that indexed at inflation? All you do is plug all that into Wealthy and Wise, and it gives you the answer. And the answer in this case was yes. So let's take a look. We waited 5 years, then we started at $440,000 of income, indexed at 3%, and you'll see if you go down to the next graphic, you're going to see how their net worth did. And here you can see with that $440,000 indexed at 3%, our net worth starts at $9 million and still maintains about a $10 million over their entire retirement.
So again, the reference point here is maintaining a pretty even keel on the net worth itself. But that delay, that 4 or 5 year delay, I mean, you could be using insurance to make that happen. You could be using maybe a deferred income annuity to make that happen. There's a lot of great ideas to be able to make. And that 5 year delay bought him a little bit more time to see if he really wants to keep working. But it also gave him the time he needed to get back to his 440 and add the 3% COLA onto it.
Yeah, and I want to add one last thing. The combination of being able to value a business with the InsMark Business Valuator in a credible way, combined with being able to plug those valuations into Wealthy and Wise and look at all their current assets and do what ifs, projecting with different things. If you can develop that relationship with a client, you are one of their most trusted advisors with regard to their wealth planning.
Well, again, we're talking about should we sell our business and can we afford to retire? I love using this Wealthy and Wise idea to be able to show the client with and without COLA how we can actually do that. Today's sales idea is brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company.
And by InsMark, the most widely used software when it comes to strategies and presentations using cash value life insurance.